Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to this segment of Khoj Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. Our recitation, Surat Mahalla Pehla, composition of Nanak the First. It has 8 verses and a rahau, so it's fairly long. The approach will be to do one verse at a time with a literal translation, and then at the end we will reflect on the Sabad as a whole. Surat Mahalla Pehla, Jinhi Satgur Sevia pyare, Tinke saath tare, Tinha thak na paya pyare, Amrit रस ना हरे, बूढ़े पारे पै बिना प्यारे, तारे नदर करे. Pyare is the refrain in the Sabad throughout. And pyare, of course, means beloved, dear. But here the pyara being addressed is the mind. So, Jinhi Satgur Sevia pyare, O my mind, O my dear, those who heed the Satgur. And who is the Satgur? The inner voice of Sabad, the residence. Those who heed that voice, Jinhi Satgur Sevia, they will be ferried across. They will be ferried across the ocean of fear, which is a metaphor for existence. Because existence is stressful, fearful, and we need to be ferried across, meaning we need to overcome that fear. So the Guru is saying, Jinni Satgur Sevia pyare, Tinha ke saath tare. Not only are they relieved of this fear, but those who join them in this process of heeding the voice of the Satgur will be ferried across. Tinke saath tare. Tinha thak na paiya pyare. They encounter no obstruction, my dear. And why is that so? Amrit rasana hare. For their tongue, here a metaphor for the mind, has savored the nectar of wisdom. Amrit rasana hare. Rasana amrit. Because they are now embedded in that wisdom. By hearing the Satgur, they are connected to that wisdom. This is the connection, the cycle that Gurbani is constantly emphasizing. On the other hand, Budde pare pehbin. Budde meaning drowning. Pare, heavy. Pehbina. Peh here is devotional love. It also means fear of the Almighty, but what that really means is people who do not move with restraint, people who don't move with reverence, or who don't have devotional love, who don't know devotion. They're heavy. And what are they heavy with? They're heavy with their own self-centeredness. Budde pare, peh bina pyare, tare nadar kare. They drown. And yet, tare nadar kare, the self, the Satgur, is compassionate. Yet even they can be saved by the grace of wisdom. So the Guru saves not only the seeker, but also their companion, so to speak. In the Rahau, Bhi tu hai salahana pyare, bhi teri salaha, vin bohit pੈ डुबिए प्यारे, कंदी पाए कहाँ. Kandi Pai Kahan. Without the Gur, without cultivating virtue, how will we find the shore, the bank, the destination, that is to say? So, my dear, that the one alone is to be glorified. Bhi tu hai salahna. Bhi is the emphasis. Only that alone, the one. Why? Because that alone is worthy of praise. Bhi teri salah. But without the ship of reverence and restraint, of love, that is, vin bohit peh dubbiye, we will drown, because we will be filled with, we will be heavy with our egos. How then will we find the bank, the destination? Kandi Pai Kahan. So if we remain filled with the ego, we are not likely to find the bank, the shore. We'll remain adrift in the ocean of worldly fear. The following verse, Salahi sahalana pyare duja avarna koe, mere prab salahin se pale pyare, sabad ratte rang hoye, tiski sangat je mila pyare, ras le tat veloye. So praise the one who is truly worthy of all praise. Salahi salahana. And praise no other. Duja avarna koe. And those who praise this inner self, because that alone is worthy of praise, meaning worthy of emulation, they alone are virtuous, because they are cultivating virtue, because they are emulating the self, which is virtue. And because they're imbued with the word and filled with love. Sabada ratte rang hoye. So the Guru says, if I could find their company, my dear mind, I will be able to churn out the essence and consume its nectar. Tisaki sangat jemila. If only I were to find them, rasale tatta veloye, I would consume the nectar of that wisdom. So it is important to seek people who are on that path, who are accomplished. Verse 3, Pat parwana sachka pyare, Pat parwana sachka pyare, Naam sach nisan, Aya lik le jamana pyare, hukmi hukam pachan, gur bin hukam na bujjiye pyare, sache sacha tan. So the passport to honor is to the dignity of being human, is truth, is your own truth. So the Guru is saying that the objective of our life, he's putting it another way, is to be dignified in one's humanity. And to be dignified means to understand and recognize what is it that gives you dignity. It is your inner self. So Pat Parwana Sachka, that is the passport to dignity. Naam Sacha Nisan, it is sealed with the wisdom of the self. That is the stamp on the passport to let you through, so to speak. The Guru goes on to say, you have arrived here by the writ of Hukum, and you will depart by the writ, my dear. Aya likh le jamana pyare. This could also be understood to say that you have come into the world through the command, through the writ, through the system that you're in. And you will take what your destiny is. You have come to achieve your destiny. That's the key. Aya likh le jaana pyare. And so therefore, recognize the intent of the intender. The intender is your own self. You should recognize that writ. That is the goal. But without the Guru bin, the intent of the intender cannot be discerned. Hukam na bujhya pyare. And that is where true power resides. It's about power over the self. It's personal power that we are manifesting through integration. Hukme andar nimya pyare, hukme udar majhar, hukme andar jamya pyare, udho sir ke par, gurmukh dargah janiye pyare, challe karj sar. So, the Guru is essentially saying, whatever happens from birth, conception, birth to death, happens according to hukam. In hukam, he says, is conception, and in hukam does conception take place in the womb. In hukam is birthing, hukme andar jamya, and in hukam, it is hukam that causes the head of the infant to lead the way out of the womb. Udho sir ke par. And since you have to recognize the intent of the intender through Gur orientation, Gurmukh dargah janiye, that will show you the way to divine presence. For that reason, seek the Gur and accomplish your task. Challe karaj sar. Furthermore, hukme andar aya pyare, hukme jando jaye, hukme ban chalaiye pyare, man mukh lahe sajaye, hukme sabad pachaniye pyare, dargah penda jaye. Again, the same kind of instruction. In hukam we come, and in hukam we will depart. Hukam binds us, and hukam drives us. But in all of this, the ego mind endures punishment because it does not recognize the intent of the intender. So even wisdom is revealed to us as part of this system, and it is this wisdom that will lead us to our destination. Now here is another twist. Hukme gard ganaiye pyare, hukme haume de, hukme pave pavaiye pyare, avgana mutti roe, hukam syani syampe sah ka pyare, sach mile vadiyai hoye. Now it is the same hukam that motivates us into calculation. It is the same hukam that bestows ego to us, that gives us this ego, that causes us all of this suffering. It is hukam that causes us to go astray in cycles of suffering. Hukme pave pavaiye. And there our vices plunder us. Avagana mutti roe, and then we weep in sorrow. This is the state of mind of ordinary consciousness. This is how the majority lives. One has to recognize hukam, how it operates within us. You see, hukam at the macro level is really a principle, but it operates through us. So we are complicit in that hukam. We are, in some senses, writing our own hukam. And this is what happens when we follow the dictates of our ego. At the concluding verses, the Guru shifts gears and he says, Aukha akhiye pyare. My dear, it is difficult to speak of. Kyo suniye sach now? How shall we tune in to that wisdom. It's hard, it's difficult to just speak of it. How do we tune in? Jinhi Satgur pyare, how tin balehare jaun. Those who have accomplished this process of tuning into wisdom, in other words, those who have praised the one, Jinhi Satgur, I am beholden to them. The hint here is that you go and seek guidance from them. This is the Guru. And the name now mile Santokhiya pyare. Santokhi is also a metaphor for hukam. Through that wisdom, you recognize how hukam operates within you. And in conclusion, we have a metaphor for practice. How life is a practice. If the body becomes the paper, kaya kagad jethiye, manamaswani tar, and the mind becomes the ink pot. Lalata lekhan sachki pyare, my dear, that make the tongue the pen of truth, of hukam. Har gun likho vichar, har gun likho, cultivate virtue. Cultivate virtue. Write those with your actions. And then the Guru concludes by saying, Tan likhari Nanaka, blessed is such a writer who writes with the pen of hukam, writes the truth. So you see, the Guru here has shown us that everything from our birth to our suffering, even our spiritual struggles, they operate within hukam, this universal organizing principle. And this is in direct contrast to the modern emphasis that we find on absolute individual control and agency. There is nothing like that. However, this determinism should not be confused to be a fatalistic worldview. The Guru is showing us the key to living, and the key is the Guru. That paradox of determinism is resolved by introducing the Guru. While all of creation is subject to hukam, the Guru's grace provides the key to understanding it. The word, the shabad, the wisdom becomes a tool for conscious, intentional action within a deterministic framework. So you are in a deterministic framework, but with the Guru as the key, you can be creative, you can be conscious, you can be intentional. The manmukh suffers because they act against this natural flow, while the Gurmukh gains true agency by recognizing and harmonizing with it. So praising, the cultivation, is not just a religious ritual, it's indeed a psychological practice. It's a way of redirecting the mind's focus from anxieties back to the source of being. This is cognitive restructuring, replacing scattered negative thoughts with a focused, positive, and unifying contemplation. This is the boat that the Guru speaks about, the raft. We have to build it. We have to build our own raft and ride on it. So the body is the paper, is the experimental ground, and the mind, the ink pot, and your actions, the pen, the tongue, the mind, writes. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.